Hmm.
But what really comes across in the data, and it comes across for all age groups, but particularly for Gen Z, is just how much of an intentional generation they are. So much of the feedback we got from the survey is about intentionality. It's about alcohol being part of a balanced lifestyle, about it complementing the occasion, not defining it, and about staying in control and about well-being. And these are all important factors for Gen Z as they look at how they choose to drink.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Marx from GoToHealth. I hope you're having a great day. You know, summer is upon us, and it's typically a time of year when we do more drinking. Of course, we do it around the holidays, but summer's coming up and we do more drinking. The International Alliance for Responsible Drinking is taking a closer look at how Americans, especially Gen Z, are consuming alcohol, and the findings may not match the stereotypes. While younger adults are often labeled the dry generation, a new survey finds nearly 3/4 of Gen Z do drink, but they're doing it differently. Across all age groups, moderation is becoming the priority. From pacing drinks to trends like zebra striping, which we'll get into, where people alternate between alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, Americans are rethinking what it means to drink responsibly. Our guest today is Julian Braithwaite, the Director General of the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking. It's a global not-for-profit that works to reduce harmful drinking and help people make informed choices about alcohol. And you can learn more when you go to iard.org. So welcome to the show, Julian Braithwaite. How are you today?
Jonathan, thank you very much for having me on your show today.
Good, I appreciate it. So, there's been recent research about the negative effects of alcohol on our health. Can we go over what that is before we're talking about how that's changing people's behavior?
So look, you see these headlines and these sort of research papers coming on and talked about, but the underlying research, and this is decades of research, shows that actually people who drink in moderation live at least as long as people who don't drink at all. So in between all of these big stories about negative research or otherwise, the underlying scientific research and scientific consensus is pretty strong, actually. And the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine here in the United States published a report on the evidence of alcohol and health back at the back end of 2024. And again, they underpin this key point, really, which is that people who drink moderately live at least as long as people who don't drink at all, and that there is a real difference between harmful drinking practices and moderate consumption, and that the science underpins that. And the science is on the side of drinking in moderation. If you drink in moderation, that can be low risk.
Interesting, very interesting. So let's talk about Gen Z. Gen Z is getting called the dry generation. What's going on there?
So this has been one of the great debates, hasn't it, Jonathan? We've been hearing about it, really ever since the pandemic. And our survey, and we wanted to look into American drinking habits and patterns and how they were changing, particularly as we head into the summer. Our survey showed that it's not quite right to call Gen Z the dry generation, because 75% of Gen Z in this survey did report that they were going to drink this summer. But what really comes across in the data, and it comes across for all age groups, but particularly for Gen Z, is just how much of an intentional generation they are. So much of the feedback we got from the survey is about intentionality. It's about alcohol being part of a balanced lifestyle, about it complementing the occasion, not defining it, and about staying in control and about well-being. And these are all important factors for Gen Z as they look at how they choose to drink.
So why is moderation suddenly beating taste as the top consideration when drinking?
So one of the things, I think there's a couple of things going on here. One is that actually, taste does remain important. It comes over as important in this survey, but it's also true that people can enjoy the taste of their favorite beer or their favorite cocktail in a no or low alcohol version. There's much more choice in that regard now. But the second thing is about this intentionality, this desire to be more in control of their choices around drinking, about this being more self-directed. And I think that comes through, and it's particularly true of Gen Z, but it's true really in all generations. We're seeing this sort of shift in mindset, perhaps even something of a cultural shift. So it's not something that's happened all of a sudden, but it is something this survey really highlights.
Interesting. So you're really emphasizing the self-direction and the moderation and the reflection. So this must mean a big change about peer pressure. The peer pressure to drink. Come on, let's get drunk. Let's have a good time. Are there changes happening in peer pressure and the effects of peer pressure?
Well, Jonathan, you and I are not Gen Z. It's probably fair to say. And when I was growing up on the other side of the Atlantic, you'd go to the pub with your friends, and how you drank was sort of defined by how your friends were drinking. You'd buy each other rounds, and that was just normal and accepted. What's really changed, and this really comes through in this data, perhaps most strongly of all, is how important it is for people, 9 out of 10 Americans, over 9 out of 10 Americans, for them to be in control, deciding for themselves how they drink, being self-directed about drinking rather than being influenced by others. Doesn't mean people aren't drinking, but they are making up their own mind about how to drink.
Got it. So there are at least two terms that I'm not familiar with, and I'd like you to explain those. One of them is zebra striping, and the other one is Nona maxing. Can you explain what both of those are?
Right. So this came across in the survey, and it's really their forms of drinking that Gen Z is pioneering and that they talk about. Although they are in some ways building on something that's been true for a very long time. So zebra striping, or I guess you guys would call it zebra striping, is the pattern of alternating an alcoholic drink with a non-alcoholic drink. And of course, that's more possible today than ever before with all of these non-alcoholic beers and other things that you can drink.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of something that's always been true, which is the importance of staying hydrated when you're drinking, of pacing yourself, of not just drinking alcohol over an evening. So that's zebra striping. Nona-maxing is the practice of going out or maybe staying at home and having alcohol over a meal with friends and with family, and where alcohol is part of that occasion, but it's not defining it. And of course, nonna is the Italian for grandmother.
Yes.
And it refers to a practice that the Italians have been practicing for many generations, which is drinking with their family over a meal, moderately, and enjoying it that way. And as I say, it's a practice that Gen Z has perhaps rediscovered, and they're calling it nonna-maxing.
That's great. So, Julian, you're the Director General of the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking. Tell us, what does your organization do?
So we're a small organization, but we sit on the largest database of the research on alcohol and health, where we exist to promote moderation and to help tackle harmful drinking. And one of the most important ways in which we do that is by talking about moderation, and also doing so on the basis of the understanding of the research and of the science. We don't do the research ourselves, but we do analyze all of the research that's out there. As I say, we have a really good and expert team who track all of this and track many of those headlines and new research papers that you're talking about at the beginning of the show.
Good. So if people want to learn more, they can go to IARD.org. That's the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking. So, Julian, I understand, is this true? You have support from major beer, wine, and spirits producers?
So, yeah, we are supported by the major drinks companies, and we're also part of something that they do, which is really important, because the private sector has a responsibility to be part of the solution on this and to help tackle harmful drinking and to promote moderate drinking. And these companies, through IARD, seek to do that, including through the standards that they all are bound by in terms of responsible marketing, responsible advertising, and in terms of the support they provide for policies to tackle harmful drinking. So IARD, one of the other things IARD is a UN recognized NGO, and we engage in these international processes on behalf of the private sector as a legitimate voice in those debates, where the private sector is part of the solution, along with civil society and government.
Explain to me, just so I understand, why would major beer, wine, and spirits producers support an organization and responsible drinking? It seems a little bit counterintuitive.
These are companies that want to be part of a responsible culture towards alcohol. They've been around for many decades. Some of them have been around for centuries. They have products that have been around sometimes for centuries, and they understand the importance of doing so in a sustainable way, of their products being used and not abused, And it's really important for them and for their brands and for their reputation that their products are enjoyed responsibly, in moderation, and not abused. And so it's very much in their interests and in all of our interests that they are playing their part in helping to ensure that people can enjoy alcohol in moderation and do so in a way that is low risk both to their consumers and to others.
Got it. I'm really impressed by that. That's great news to hear. So, Julian, summer's coming up. This is when we typically do more socializing, possibly more drinking. What kind of big message would you like to leave with people today as we come into summer?
So I think the message is that alcohol can absolutely be part of a balanced lifestyle and low risk as long as you drink in moderation. And there are lots of practical ways in which you can do that. We've talked a bit about that just now, but if people want to find out more about how they can drink in moderation and understand these new trends in terms of how people are drinking more moderately, as you say, they can go to our website, www.iard.org. That's iard.org.
Good. Thank you. Julian, thanks so much for being with us today. It's a very timely interview. I appreciate your coming on.
Jonathan, thank you very much for having me on your show.
Good. We've been talking with Julian Braithwaite. He's the Director General of the International Alliance for Responsible Drinking. That's IARD, I-A-R-D, and you can go to their website at iard.org. They're a global not-for-profit that works to reduce harmful drinking and help people make informed choices about alcohol. Again, Julian, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
This has been Jonathan Marx with GoToHealth. Remember, please visit us at GoToHealthMedia.com. We have over 300 interviews with health experts. You can also listen to us on Apple or Spotify or watch us on YouTube. And if you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review or a thumbs up. That really helps us get evidence-based information out to more people. Thanks again for being with us today. This has been Jonathan Marx with GoToHealth. And as we say at the end of every show, go to health. God bless. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today to Go to Health. You are one of almost 10,000 people per day who enjoy the evidence-based health information offered by our guest health experts. You can watch us on our website and YouTube and listen to us on 8 podcast networks. Be sure to join Jonathan Marx in our upcoming shows each week. If you like our show, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to the show, join our email list, send us feedback, browse through the online store, and view our library of over 150 shows at GoToHealthMedia.com. See you next time, and remember to elevate your life with Go to Health.